Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for joining Insight Legal for this webinar on workflows and how they can optimize your law firm's productivity. My name is Josh Dallywell, and I'm one of three hosts on this call today. I'm kindly joined by my colleagues Andy Butler and Simon Emery for this next half an hour. Andy, as some of you may already be familiar with, is one of our product specialists who's been with the firm for the past 7 years, and Simon joins us from the workflow implementation team. Good afternoon, guys. Excellent. Right, what do we have in store for you today? We've got a full agenda. We know that workflows as a concept are fairly new for many of you. So we're going to start off with some basics before I hand over to Andy to talk us through one of our out-of-the-box workflows. And then we'll bring in Simon to talk about what are some of the other workflows we have and how he and his team go about customizing those for our clients. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions using the chat facility in Zoom. Your questions are not seen by anyone other than me and my fellow hosts, so please ask away with confidence. And if we do run out of time, we will follow up with anyone whose questions we don't manage to cover during the live session. The webinar is being recorded, hence the reason why I went and got myself a haircut, and we will be making copies of the video recording available to everyone who has registered. Okay. Now, many of you joining this call will have some understanding of workflows, whether you've used them in your current or previous roles. Often when people talk about workflows, they understand them to be a set process made up of clearly predefined individual tasks to be completed, sometimes in a linear fashion, and those tasks may involve multiple people, both external and internal, and integrations with other systems. What people are often unclear on is what the full range of purposes and benefits of a workflow are. What everyone associates with a workflow is control. You have a set of tasks that you want to have completed in a set order, and the outcome of one task may have an impact on the rest of the workflow. Taking a very simple example, you want to ensure that until all the AML checks have been done, you don't start work on a matter, or has the client deposited the required funds, which enable you to start work on their case. Workflows are also incredibly important in guiding a user through the proper course of actions to take. We know, for example, that many firms will rely upon support staff, internals, paralegals to undertake some of the initial work on a matter, which might involve carrying out checks, sending out a welcome pack, so they can be made to be quite prescriptive in their approach. Not only can workflows ensure that an individual is responsible for completing tasks, but also that work can be delegated to a team or department. That could be because of a heavy workload, or in the absence of a team member due to sickness or holiday leave. Those outstanding tasks can be delegated. Anyone taking over a workflow from one member of the firm can instantly see what tasks have been completed, what's still outstanding, and what needs working on next. You can integrate workflows with other parties, for example, initiating a search on conveyancing matters or completing forms. So typically, whether you want to complete an AP1, TR1, Form E, these can be completed and submitted as part of a workflow. And where the data for these forms is captured as part of the case file or as user-defined data, it will pre-populate the required forms. I want to talk about these next two together, expedite and automate. Automation in a workflow helps reduce or cut out quite menial, repetitive tasks that we undertake in our working lives. And often we do these tasks without paying too much attention to them until someone shows us another way. Producing documents, for example, can be automated. You reach a certain point in a workflow, for example, where a document needs to be produced. It needs inputting sets of data points, reference numbers, client name, address, matter details. The document might need converting to PDF and then emailing out. So there's no specialist set of skills required to produce that document. So why can't it be automated? And say it takes 10 minutes to produce each letter manually, and the automation reduces that to 2 minutes. That's 8 minutes saves. Multiply those 8 minutes by the 30 letters you send out each week, and suddenly you find yourself and you've saved kind of 4 hours. So, I think we all understand that time is money and money is time. So being able to expedite tasks in matters frees up your time as fee earners to work on the elements of your job that actually earn you those fees. Finally, being able to track and measure how long a process takes from start to completion can help you understand the profitability of the work that you do. So you can report on how many matters you have at any point in time, what stage they're at. Do you have matters that are not progressing because the workload is too much for an individual, so they need delegating? Is certain work taking longer than anticipated, so you need to reevaluate fees? In addition, you can set up reminders that a certain task needs to be completed in X number of days from the file opening. And once you've reached that stage, set out alerts to the fee earner or the department head saying, hey, listen, this has all been completed. It's now time for you to take over. Okay, so that's kind of enough about me kind of giving you a background in terms of workflows. I want to bring in Andy here to talk about, actually kind of show you one of our out-of-the-box workflows. Okay, and I think you've got a conveyancing one to show us, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so hi everyone. So I'm just going to take sort of 6-7 minutes just to go through sort of the very openings of a workflow we have. I'll certainly be able to show you in this very short time, some of the streamlining of the tasks, how you can define your processes, and how you can have a uniform standard for the work. This is of course something that we'd be more than happy to show you in sort of your own demo, where we can kind of tailor the demo to you, and you can tell us about your processes and we'll describe how and show you how that would work on Insight. So I'm just going to share my screen, and everyone who's familiar with Insight, you'll know where we are. We're in case inquiry. Anyone who hasn't seen Insight before, this is where, as a fee earner, you work on a file, where you sort of make your money. So where we're going to spend all our time today, there's 2 new tabs which people might not have seen. There's one labeled tasks, and there's another labeled phases. Now, the way this works, every type of file that you wish to utilize a workflow on will start off with phases. When a phase is marked as being active, as introduction is, Insight will present to you a list of tasks that need doing. When you proceed through the tasks, which we're going to do today, the task will mark itself as being complete. Once you've completed all of the tasks within said phase, the phase will mark itself as being complete and you can progress on. These are all configurable. You would see whatever you wanted to see. The very first job we have here is producing some welcome pack documents. So we're not going to produce these one at a time, like everyone may be used to. We're going to make 4 things with a couple of clicks here. I've got 4 documents. You may have 2, you may have 10. Doesn't matter. This is all configured. So just clicking produce all, Insight will present to me the documents that it's going to create. If there's anything missing, it will show in red font, as it does in user-defined data, and it's asking me for a property value. So one of the documents has asked for that information. If I just key in a memorable value, clicking this icon here will prepare the templates. So they've already been created, and I can rename them now or later. I can open them now or later. Just for the sake of the demo, I'm going to open up the client care letter. As many of you may be familiar with, this is simply our Office 365 integration. It's a Word document with merge fields in, extremely simple to set up. All of the standard data about who you're writing to, references, addresses, dear title, surname, read your matter description will always populate through. Here is the value that you guys watch me key in. If I just make a very obvious change to this document, we'll see this document in a moment. You can obviously go through and edit the rest of the documents. We're not going to do that today for the sake of the demo. Mark this task now as being complete. And that will now show as a completed task rather than a task that needs doing. You can view the history of a task. You can see sort of how long it took the member of staff who completed it. That's part of sort of being able to have accountability and insight as to who did what part of the audit trail. Next task we have, so this is us recording a memorandum of sale. Imagine that said record proof of ID, record proof of address, record the marriage certificate, anything you can imagine. All I'm going to do here, I have my Outlook. I'm just going to drag over. And within my Outlook, I've got an email containing an attachment that is the document I wish to store within the program. This could also be within my file explorer as a download or as a scan. I simply drag and drop into the box. You can rename this now. So it's, for example, if it was a scan and it just had a jumble of letters and numbers, you can identify this, memorandum of sale for Mr. Hookins. Complete that task. Again, that's simply another completed task and it will live there. That document, as well as everything else you ever prepare within the workflow, will always live within the matter where we are now, within your matter files. This is your document hub. Insight also behaves as a document management system. Final job we'll do today, we're going to send an email. This is an email template, and everything about the email that you define will be pre-populated onto said email. So all we have to do here is simply choose who the email should be addressed to. We can, if we like, change the subject. My subject at the moment simply pulls through the matters reference, which is how the auto filing of emails work. We can show you. And it says formal instructions. Your email subject could say formal instructions, read your matter description, and Insight would look for the matters description and put it within the email line. Looking for the attachments, I drag them from my matter files into the respective boxes. And if I just do this for these 4 with our client care letter, you launch the email. And again, this is our Outlook integration further to our Office 365 integration, where you're going to see an email that you've seen a million times before. Who it's going to, the subject line, the body of the email is all predefined, and anyone preparing this letter, it will look the same for. If you look at the attachments, Insight can convert them to a PDF if you wish. That's what it's done with the client care, for example. If I open this up and show you, it's the very same document that we made earlier, okay, with that value and the highlighting. It now exists as a PDF. The only document that has been left as a docx is the purchase questionnaire that my client could, complete and return to me. Send to the email. The email will go from Outlook as a send item. It will always be kept in there. A duplicate, a copy, will always live within your matter files as well. Something else that everyone should be aware of is Insight's auto time recording. I've got this going on. You don't have to have that going on. Okay. For certain jobs, you can have Insight record the time manually or automatically. We may do a future sort of call on that, but I'll dismiss this for now. The rest of the workflow we're not going to go through today, but it's very much sort of a to-do list, kind of a fact-finding mission. All of the data that we give to our workflow now can pre-populate further future documents, forms that we create, any other sort of data you wish to report on. A lot of the workflow will help you with.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Andy. And I guess I noticed, for example, when you were completing that letter, there was a kind of some red text asking you to enter in the property value. I assume that's something that can be done as part of the workflow in terms of, I guess, pre the preparation of those letters, so it automatically populates them. Would that be correct?
Certainly. But so what that was doing then, that was an example of if a field had been missed out. Yeah. It will always sort of remind you before you pre-populate it.
Excellent. And I guess for any of our Insight clients who are looking at this and thinking, I don't see the tasks and phases, I guess tabs in their Insight. These are obviously available for enterprise customers. So if you're not currently seeing those, obviously you don't have enterprise at the moment. And I think just one other quick point I wanted to bring in, and this is obviously something that's been I guess a long-standing debate, is going back to the phases tab you were just at, and whether you want to give people the ability to have multiple phases open at any one point in time. And I know that Simon has some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I know some people like to jump halfway through like a matter and would like to initiate a phase that is halfway through to sort of catch up with how they're working. However, doing that can have an effect on the workflow going forward, because there are certain dependencies that can sit earlier in the workflow which haven't been triggered. As a result, those will not be able to trigger future tasks down the line, and the workflow actually has the opportunity, or has the option to just stop, because it doesn't know where to go now, because there's a certain dependency. So for example, in this one, in introduction, there is a task that says, do they want to receive emails or letters? And if you skip that one, then it will not know when you go to produce a document whether or not it's going to be an email or a letter. So it doesn't know where to go. And so that's a real sort of important one right at the beginning. However, if you want to have two open at the same time, you can work off of like both, let's say we've got here gathering information and searches and checks. You'll get to a point within searches and checks, no more tasks will start to populate, but if you then start finishing gathering info, more will start to be triggered. So you can look at doing two side by side, but I would never really like to see people jump straight halfway through. Otherwise, it can sort of ruin the purpose of the workflow.
Exactly. I think I noticed on the one that Andy's just been showing here, for example, it asks whether the property being purchased is freehold or leasehold. And obviously, I'm guessing that will have an impact in the rest of the flow. Absolutely.
If you don't know that, it won't know which questions to ask later down the line.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for that, Andy and Simon. Okay, right, let me share my screen again. Okay, now in terms of, I guess, kind of the workflows that we have available out of the box for enterprise customers, you can see that list on the screen, but we are always looking for firms that want to work with us, either in putting together a custom workflow or one that may benefit our wider client base. And on that note, I want to bring in Simon here, who works as a workflow implementation consultant. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what your role involves?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role here at Insight is to import and implement our out-of-the-box workflows that you saw just there. So the ones that we have already available, I will work with our clients to import those, and if needs be, make changes, update documents. So I work very closely with understanding our customers and clients' requirements. Additionally on that, I also, myself and my team, create bespoke ones for our clients as well. So if they come to us with something that isn't on that list, we can sit down, discuss, and start mapping the processes and build that alongside with them.
Excellent. Do you have anything you can show us in terms of how you customize a workflow?
Absolutely, yeah, I'd be happy to show you that today. So I've got something available here, which some of the tasks that actually Andy brought up. So we've got one here, which is a email template and producing a document. In the back end of the system, we've told the workflow to produce this document at this stage, and then also to select a specific document template and send that off at the same time. So we can customize these quite easily within the tasks. We can pull in different actions. If it was, for example, I wanted to capture some user data, which could be a little additional reference on top of the customer care letter. If I've created that, I can pull that in very easily into there. I can create, let's say, an additional letter where it allowed me to email, sorry, where I could just send one maybe a bit more ad hoc, so it doesn't use a specific template. And it's also as easy as interchanging some of the items that we have in there. If we've got a client care letter, which is our out-of-the-box document, and you have your own as one of our clients, instead of then worrying about having to rewrite any of the system, it's actually a simple case of just dragging and dropping the new letter that you want in place. If we've got it saved on Insight, we can find that and just drag and drop into the workflow. So we can make very quick amendments to make it a little bit more personal to you.
Excellent. And I noticed you've got a whole host of kind of different action types there, which are all, I guess, kind of, you can drag and drop. Because I think kind of one of the potential things that I guess kind of scares people about workflows is, I know there are legal software out there which require you to have some degree of programming skills to put a workflow together. So
yeah, absolutely. So behind this, it was made to be created by our clients. And originally it was put in place so it could be done by the workflow team and by our clients. And indeed, we've actually had quite a few of our clients who have made some of their own alongside our out of the box. We've had things like an initiation phase, or an onboarding phase with their clients, where they've made those that can then go into our out of the box. And it's as easy as, like we've said, just dragging and dropping a new task into a new action into that area. As long as we understand what we're trying to get out of it and what information we're trying to tell the workflow to achieve, we're able to make that within these tasks.
And I assume that obviously as part of the kind of onboarding for clients using workflows, that there is some training given to them in terms of, showing them how to make changes on an ongoing basis, so they don't have to keep coming back to you and the team to edit their workflows. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's one of the questions that we do during our onboarding. We do ask, would you like some to be shown how to do anything in the back end of the workflow? So within this side, not just interacting with the workflows, but how we can make changes. That way they can be more dependent on themselves, not have to worry about coming to us every time there may be a process change or something within, in this instance, I've got the power of attorney. So if the processes for power of attorney change, they don't have to come to us and say, can you rewrite this workflow to suit the new legislation? They can go through and do it themselves.
Excellent. Thanks, Simon. That's been really useful. And yeah, I am going to be sharing our contact details again at the end of this webinar. But yeah, just a quick reshare of the workflows that are available out of the box. And obviously, we're open to talking to you about helping you create new ones. And it can just be as simple as opening a file in a specific way, and and you want a process obviously that you're familiar with and you're happy with. Okay, so what is the end goal with workflows? Ultimately, it should help you speed up working through a matter by sharing and delegating responsibility for tasks in a way that is automated and doesn't rely upon a human to say, right, now I finished my bit, now it's time for you to take over. That efficiency also brings cost savings. It allows fee earners to focus more of their time on higher value tasks, but also ensure you as a firm can handle a larger caseload. You reduce risk by ensuring that regardless of who is completing a task, that the correct process is followed and documents are templated. And with automation, you can standardize and optimize this process to ensure that every matter is submitted with all the right information every time. And I imagine how much time could be saved when the involved parties don't have to be tracked down and followed up for any information that has been omitted. Okay, I just want to kind of take a few questions, and I noticed that we've had a few that have come through on the chat, and maybe I guess kind of Simon, you may be able to help with some of these. And I guess kind of the first one we've already kind of partially answered, which is, what if the workflow we want isn't available from your out of the box list?
Yeah, absolutely. So if that's something that one of our clients wants, we will sit with them and start working through the requirements of that, and we can start building it alongside with them. So understanding the way that they work, building it into the system, utilizing their own documents, and we can deliver something to them that is specifically to them in the way that they work in the department that they work.
And I assume, I guess, kind of where clients have migrated to Insight Legal and they've had workflows in their previous software, I guess kind of what's the process from there?
Of course, there's going to be some element of change. We're not going to be exactly like some of our competitors out there. Things are going to be different. So there'll be some element of change management. However, if it works differently in terms of the flow is very different from the way that they're used to, we can certainly work with them to bring it back into a way that they're used to working as well. So it is something we can absolutely work alongside our clients to make more less impactful on the way that they're usually working. We can
Sure,
definitely.
and I think that change management is something that we should never underestimate, especially if people have worked in a certain way for, whether with previous software or just in their kind of in their normal day-to-day roles. Yeah, sure, and we take that on board. And I guess, the next question I have here is, do you have plans for an immigration workflow?
Currently, it's something that we're looking into. We know there's interest around it. We are currently looking into several different aspects of law that we're going to be making workflows next, but immigration is one that we know is becoming quite popular in terms of requested. So it's something we're going to be looking into in the future.
I know, Andy, I think you've had a few requests from clients that are willing to work with us on immigration workflows. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, immigration is quite popular. I think it will be one that Insight has sooner rather than later.
Okay, fantastic. And again, I think that there's another question here that I think we've kind of partially answered already, kind of during this session. Can we create our own workflows from scratch, or do you have to do them? Simon, I guess that's more for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't have to use our out-of-the-box ones, and you don't have to sit there and go through the requirements with us. We can show you how to use the software to create the workflows yourself. And like I've said, some of our clients have in fact started creating workflows themselves. They may not be, let's say, as big as some of our out-of-the-box ones, but they are still very much detailed and then built around the way that they work. So yeah, you're not limited to just either using what we use or using us to help build it.
Okay, fantastic. I think that's kind of all we have in time for in terms of questions. If anybody's watching this recording and has any questions, there is a set of contact details that I want to share with you. You can email me or call me directly. You see my contact details there. We also have a webinars email address, which is webinars@insightlegal.co.uk. So please feel free to post any questions back to us, and we will also be sharing a copy of the recording of today's session with everybody who's registered. And if anybody has any interest in a kind of more detailed look at workflows or any of our other enterprise features, then we'll give you the opportunity to book a session with us. Please also look out for details of our next webinar when we'll be talking about AML checks, which is probably going to be in about 2 weeks' time. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and thank you very much to my fellow panelists on this webinar today. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.